Should be. Hi, can any Zoom people see me? Oh, there we go. There I am. Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is the first time we've done an event like this that I can recall, where we have a small group on Zoom and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube for everybody else who registers. So if you are watching on Facebook and or YouTube and you would like to have access to the private Zoom, which for those of you who are on Zoom who are VIPs, make sure we'll have a short break between the main session and the VIP session, but it's going to be the same link. So don't get off the Zoom. You can put yourself on, you can turn off your camera and just leave for a few minutes during the break and come back. Okay. So that's why we're doing it this way, so that people can stay on and we can go seamlessly from one session to another. For those of you who are thinking about joining VIP, you can do that at any point. Dublin, maybe you can put up the link right now so that people can see it. You can do it at the break. You can do it later on throughout the event if you want to. And you will have access to the replays. So I'm waiting to see the link. Or Shira, can you type the link in the Zoom chat? Actually, it doesn't need to be in the Zoom chat. It should be on YouTube. Okay, so yeah, let's start with this. Before I start with anything, I was going to do this in like 3 minutes from now, but I have to tell you guys, I am feeling very unusual. And I have been all day, and really I have been on and off, like in a path leading up to this for probably, that I'm really acutely aware of, about 6 weeks at this point. It's getting stronger, and I think I understand what's happening, and I'll be asking you guys questions about this too. So please answer when I ask questions. I would love to hear back from you. This is a community, it's a soul tribe. I have my team monitoring the feedback from the YouTube and the Facebook and sending it to me in the chat here on the Zoom. So I want to know from you guys, who's feeling weird or who's been feeling weird? And feel free to say me or type an M or give us a few details. So wherever you're listening from, anyone been feeling strange? Angela says me. Anyone else? Patricia says me. Anyone feeling just normal? Feel free to say normal if you want to. Feel free to say normal. I'm quite curious. Yes, but wired is my normal. Brenda says me. Okay, well, I'll be waiting to hear reports from other streams who's been feeling strange. So what's happening here? What's happening here is exactly the topic of this 3-day challenge. Actually, originally, I was just planning to make this a coaching event. I'm really good at helping people to identify their next edge. What is the next edge? Wherever you've been thinking you'd like to go, but you're not going there. And there are some pretty proven, reliable formulas and techniques to help people make those shifts. And we'll get to those. We'll touch on those definitely, especially in the fairy dust and the homework. This is a challenge, meaning you're meant to be engaged here. This is about your life. It's not just about teaching. It's about your life and getting moving in your life. That's the entire purpose of the Next Edge Challenge. However, at the same time, what's coming up for me, and I guess I'll soon see for how many other people, what's coming up for me is the next edge for humanity. What is the next edge for humanity? So some of you have probably had the chance to listen to the class that I gave you as a gift when you registered. It should be in the training room, whether you're VIP or not. That is, I forgot what it's called, exactly what I've called it, but the 2 morphic fields, something like that. If you have not listened to that, I strongly, strongly encourage you to listen to it, because this is one of the core secrets from the blueprint for creation of what's happening right now. We are making a very massive quantum shift in our very ground of being. not just in the ways that we behave and not just in the way politics looks or medicine looks or any of that, which that is definitely part of it. Those are almost like side effects or symptoms of it. Not almost like they are. But really, it's a much more profound thing, which we'll be discussing about in day one pretty extensively. We'll be doing a deep meditation that's going to help take you through at least the next stage of this shift. And based on that, it will bring out what your fairy dust is, your homework for day one. So just so you know that. Just to cover this, if you want to join VIP, like I said, at any time you do so at gateofunity.com/nextedgevip. And that will give you access to the extra sessions for each day for the permanent downloads and an extra gift of a sampler of a whole bunch of amazing classes. That's optional. And before I go into the connection that obviously I really need to make, I just want to also make one more announcement, and that is that I'm opening up a new program. It is not, instead of influencers, the year-long coaching program that is my love and heart and inner circle community, but I'm opening a new program that's a step in. That's also going to be part of the influencers program. That's just going to be a gift to all influencers, but we're opening it as well to other people who would like to have. I don't even want to call it a taste. It's a powerful program. It's a 4-month program called Awakening Divine Power. It's going to be 4 classes a month, 3 training with Q&A and coaching on the training live. Also, you'll get replays, but it's live. And then a 4th practice call every month for 4 months. And it's a structured transformational process, which takes the best of everything that I have learned, developed, delivered, tweaked, and we'll keep learning. Who knows what's going to be like by the time we start that program on February 7th. But anyway, that is an offering that I'm making. I decided to do it for influencers just because I want to give everything I possibly can to my beloved influencers. But then I decided that also that it would be really good to open it for people who aren't ready necessarily to take a step into a year-long program, but really would love the transformation that's going to enable you to live with peace, power, clarity, vision, and purpose in these times. And it really is. It really works that way. So you can check that out as well. I'm not going to talk about it more today, but I will tomorrow. The next day, you can check it out if you want to at awakeningdivinepower.com. If you have questions about that program or influencers, feel free to reach out to my concierge, Shira, at shira.concierge@gmail.com. Shira, please post your email on Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. Okay, that said, let's go into a connection. Close your eyes. I don't know if you can feel the energy or what you feel. I'd love to hear from you with what you feel, whether it's weird or something else, but there is so much energy that I can feel bubbling up inside of my torso, kind of pushing up against, trying to express. I want you to know, as we settle into our chairs, as we settle into our bodies, as we settle into this space, I want you to know that so much new energy, information, potential, God connection, soul light, plus so much more is coming in so much faster because we're at the end of a metamorphosis, the climax of a metamorphosis. Like at birth, transition, it gets faster and faster, bigger and bigger, more and more impactful. So when new energies are coming in and we don't connect with them, we're busy, we don't necessarily know what's happening, we kind of plow through. Or maybe we'll interpret it as something, I don't want to feel this way. Why do I feel strange? Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel whatever, yada, yada. The healing, the power starts with making the connection, connect to what you're feeling. So whatever you're feeling, take this opportunity to connect with it right now. How do you do that? First of all, you can tune into your breathing. Just notice your breath as it moves through your body. Notice any place where you have sensation, constriction, discomfort, or just plain energy. Notice any place in your body where that is occurring. And just place your attention there. How do you want to do this? Very gently, lovingly. Just with a lot of open space and listening. I'm just turning down a heater. So there's a difference between being on transmit in the left brain, that little voice constantly babbling, having opinions, telling you what you have to watch out for, telling you that life is dangerous, something's wrong, you should try harder, you're doing good, you're not doing good, what's going to happen. All of that is transmit. They can come in the form of questions, like usually they're questions that give you unproductive answers, like what's wrong with me? Or what's wrong with you? What's wrong with this? Or how can I ever figure this out? Or am I safe? Sometimes it's like the world's going to hell, or people are stupid, or you're a loser, or I like this, I don't like this, the weather is fine. You know, whatever it is, as long as there's a voice coming out of it, it's the left brain, you're on transmit. So just notice what's being transmitted. We're noticing. This is what we're doing in the connection as we start here. We're noticing. So notice. And sometimes your body is transmitting sensations. And when you're stuck in the transmit mode, you'll push against those sensations. Try to suppress them or argue with them or react to them or figure them out or create a solution. All of that is transmit. So just be with transmit for a minute. I'm feeling the energy so strong. And we're co-creating it, by the way, soul tribe, soul family. I almost sent out an email today where I said I had a plan, but now I don't. We'll just see what evolves, and we will see what evolves because we're doing this with God in real time. No joke. Okay. So then there's being on receive, you know, like a radio, like a shortwave radio. You put it on transmit when you want to talk, then you put it on receive when you want to listen. So what's receive? So you can experience receive by imagining your mind turned upward like a bowl, like a satellite dish. Try that and see what that feels like for a sec. Or you could imagine yourself as a giant mirror, reflecting what's really happening around you, within you. Or you can listen. What do I mean by listen? So listening is not just with the ears. It's what Kabbalah calls the inner ear. The quality of receiving. It's one of the qualities of receiving. You can imagine yourself by the door of a bedroom of a little child that you love that's taking a nap. They have a little cough. You want to put your ear by the door and make sure that they're okay, that you hear them moving around, that they're not in any distress, but you don't want to open the door and wake them. So you're listening. It's a kind of super focused, intent, openness. Mind open like a bowl to receive. Senses wide open, taking in. Heart open like a flower. You can imagine a rose, layer upon layer opening. Because we're receiving, we're listening not just to what's outside of ourselves, and not even primarily to what's outside of ourselves, primarily to what's inside of us. That's where the listening gets quantum. And this kind of deep listening creates miracles, hands down. Shifts emotions, shifts reality, shifts the body, shifts the cells, connects you to a deeper level of self, connects you to the voice of God, starts a flow of information, wisdom, answers, solutions that you'll never reach when you're on transmit, even with the questions on transmit. Those just address your memory bank from the past. Listening connects you to the emerging future. The future coming through the present moment, which exists here in a slightly deeper dimension. Always here and simultaneously having no shape, no time, no place. That's where quantum transformation happens. So let's just spend a minute or so just listening. I want to invite you to listen to your body, listen to the energy, listen to whatever your little voice is telling you, but you don't want to listen like taking it seriously. You want to listen like you're just a listening ear, just holding space. Listen to any sensations, listen to the energy. You can invite any energies within you to express themselves from a deeper place, to expand, to take up more room within your system. Generally, we want to suppress energy or sensations that aren't comfortable. That is the opposite. That's transmit. That's the opposite of what creates miraculous connection and quantum healing, quantum transformation. For that, you want to do the deep listening and invite the energy to expand. Feel it in your body. Feel how big you can let it be. How big can you listen? So let's just do that for a bit. What is emerging? Okay. Before the call, I was thinking if only I could just do this and then stay here for the next, next hour for session 1 and then another hour for VIP. And a lot of things would happen if we could do that. But at the end of the day, this is a challenge. So we'll have some words involved too. But let's keep in touch. Let's keep connected to this energy. I call this making a connection. Stay with the connection as we move through the session. Stay with the connection, remind yourself, listen to yourself, feel your body. Not the story about what you're feeling that you want to let go. That's transmit. Joy asks, how do we know what voice to listen to? Right now, we want to let go of the voice that transmits. That's the voice that has opinions, that has concerns, that needs to know right now. That's worried, that is measuring and judging. That's all the voice, for those of you who are Kabbalistically inclined, of the Eitz Hadas, of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That is the field that we are being shaken loose from right now. That's the field of the past, our collective past. Need to know, limitations, separation, judgment. We'll talk about it. But for now, we want to be on receive. And there's a difference in the way that voice comes up from a deep place, really quickly, like a lightning flash or in images. It doesn't come up like something that you've heard a lot of times before. Okay, I'll address more questions in a bit. I would love to hear how you guys are feeling based on the connection. Okay, so the transmit and receive, let's talk about those for a second. So transmit is knowing. It corresponds to the left brain. It corresponds to the past. It's like a big filing cabinet, really big filing cabinet. Like there are many things that we know in our left brain that we don't remember, solutions that we could figure out if we could put together information from the left brain. It's not that it's not super useful in that in many, many other ways. It's a holy part of the mind, or a holy seat of part of the mind. But it's the knowing, it's the known. We need it. It's the known. Receive is the unknown. I don't know. I don't know yet. I'm listening. I'm open. Very different. They work together, but they're very different. So as you'll understand much more clearly in a few moments, these two ways of being correspond to two different morphic fields. If you had a chance to listen to the class that I gave to everybody, if you didn't, then please do. Because I'm not going to go over all of the material in detail like I do there. And it's incredibly important. It's what we call in Torah terms, the tzav hashah, the call of the hour. It's the call of the hour to understand that we are transitioning, making a shift between two morphic fields. What's a morphic field? It is an energetic dimension of reality that certain people and or beings are connected to, that has a gravity and its own laws of cause and effect. Okay, so there are two different morphic fields, or two different dimensions of reality, which we'll be discussing today before we do our experiential meditation. And we're shifting from one to the other. So there are a variety of ways that we shift from one to the other. They have different laws of cause and effect, different laws of nature. In short, before we go into the details, the previous field that we are being pulled away from or pushed out of is the field of natural law, the field of reality as we've always known it. The field, we'll talk about it soon. The field that we're being pulled toward, that we're being invited to shift into, is a field of infinite possibility and miracles. Very different. How we connect to one field versus the other, very different. We're used to field A. We are not used to field B. Or let me put it the other way. We're used to field B. We're not used to field A. So we need to get to know it. And that's the next edge for all of humanity. So what is the true nature of reality? So I want to tell you a quick story. We have a few slides we prepared for you. So David, if you can put up the slide of the snow globe. So I actually wrote this in an email that I sent out last week. When I took my first energy healing class, I'll look at questions after this. David, can you put up the snow globe, please? I took my first energy healing class many years ago. That's not it. And we had an uneven number of people. And so the teacher partnered with me. She did a session for me. And in that session, I had a very powerful experience that I never understood until very, very recently, maybe the last few weeks. This is a snow globe. So what happened in that experience? So imagine this glass globe, which was that I saw in this vision during this healing session. Imagine this glass globe, literally filled, packed like a can of sardines with no space in between, with suffering people, like those pictures you see in art museums of like the suffering, with like Dante's Inferno or something, with the head, hyperextended back and the mouth open and a silent scream, and everyone wearing loincloths and skinny and tangled around each other so you couldn't even see whose body parts were whose. That whole big glass looking sphere that I saw in this vision, this was back, I guess like 16 years ago. So as I said, I'm only starting to really understand it in the last few weeks. But I saw this globe filled with these suffering masses. And this voice, my voice, said in my head in the clearest, calmest way over and over, why don't you just leave to these people? Why don't you just leave? Why don't you just get out? Like where there's room, where there's life. And it was so strong. The feeling that I had was, it's so obvious. It's a no-brainer. Just get out. Just walk out. You don't have to be here. It was so strong and so visceral that for 3 days I was like floating in it, but I had no idea about the how. Just that this was a possibility I could not see. My left brain couldn't see how it was a possibility. And eventually I obviously it was a strong memory, but eventually I almost stopped thinking about it because, okay, in the future, maybe it'll come. It was obviously real, but not for them, not for me anyway. Okay, so now I want you to imagine that this globe is the sphere, like a hologram, where all of humanity has been existing since the fall in the Garden of Eden, since the eating from the tree of knowledge, which created this left brain voice, which created the internalization of snake energy, which basically, what is snake energy? It is weaponized fear, guilt, sadness, shame, anxiety, worry, judgment. It's that voice that is constantly putting you down. What's wrong with you? Why did you do that? There's no hope. How am I going to? All these things that our voice says to us. So many emails. Yeah. I might do less emails in the future. I'm thinking about it. Anyway, that voice that is constantly berating us, what would it be like if somebody was constantly yelling at you? Maybe some of you grew up with that, or maybe some of you are living with that right now. Type me in the chat if you grew up with that, or if you're living with that constant berating voice. I'm looking at the chat. The Hebrew for call of the hour is Tzav Hasha. Sure, maybe you can type it in English. Tzav Hasha. Okay, so that is what we're doing to ourselves. And it's not our fault. It's the internalized voice of the snake. It's designed to keep us in the snow globe. It's designed to keep us believing that life is a zero-sum game. What does that mean? There's just a limited amount of resources. There's a limited amount of power. There's a limited amount of life. And, nobody gets enough. Certainly not you. Is this the same as the move between the age of Pisces into Aquarius? I won't say that there's no parallel. It's deeper than that because we're above the stars. The stars are just a mechanism, according to Kabbalah, the cosmos. Astrology is a mechanism. The spiritual and physical worlds are connected through the angels that are called Ophanim, or cycle angels, and they control the cycles of the heavenly bodies, which are like a steering wheel, that bring things into being, but we are commanded to go above the stars. We're supposed to create that, co-create that with our consciousness. We're not meant to be subject to it. Okay. Hi, Donna. So basically, that's how we develop the connection to the old matrix, that snow globe. We want to get out of the snow globe. How do we get out of the snow globe? So in this class that I gifted you, the Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about the times that we're living in now. And in a nutshell, he quotes a prophet called Micha, who says that in these times, the remnants of Jacob, that's how he describes it, will be surrounded by many nations, to the point where lo yikava le'ish, we will not be able to put our hope in man or to depend upon human beings. And the Rebbe asks, what is the purpose of these times? What is the purpose of that? And first of all, he describes it as the first stage of Geula, which is the messianic redemption. Let's say it like it is. It is the awakening. It is the cosmic shift. It is the purpose for creation. It is the climax of this gestation process of humanity into the birth of a world of heaven on earth, and infinite joy, pleasure, growth, love, connection, co-creativity. But first, we've been stuck in the snow globe, like an incubator, like a baby in the womb, like a caterpillar in a cocoon, or There are many different analogies. Growing in a pretty closed environment under pretty closed circumstances until it's time to move. What happens when it's time to move? All of a sudden, there's a lot of pressure. All of a sudden, there's a lot of noise. The heartbeat accelerates for the baby, for the mother. There's pressure that moves things out. The womb is tight. The egg for the chicken is tight. The cocoon is tight for the caterpillar. And we'll be doing a visualization about this before the end of this class. That's going to be very experiential and very powerful. But the caterpillar melts down into gel. So what happens when it's time to create that shift from the first stage of redemption to the second stage of redemption? The pressure increases. And that is why the Rebbe explains, and I explain in that class based on what the Rebbe says, that in these times, it's prophesied that there will be tremendous pressures, that there will be, and I quote, increased evil amongst the nations, within each nation. There will be evil within the people themselves, and the evil will be of such a power that God himself will have to uproot that evil. In other words, wars, all kinds of things. In other words, the nature of reality, the nature of life within the snow globe is going to become so tight, so constricting, that we will have no choice but to make some changes. Okay, I'm paraphrasing here. You can hear it very accurately taught in the class. So yes, of course, it's a time of potential. So the Rebbe asks, what is the reason? Why do we call this the first stage of redemption? What is the reason why, as part of the first stage of the redemption of a world of heaven on earth, when there will be no more war, when there will be no more suffering? If you're not familiar with these promises from the Torah, there will be no war, no suffering, no hunger, no jealousy, no competition, no loneliness, no isolation. Everybody will see God and feel God and the love of God. There will be no sickness. There will be no death, no poverty, no hunger. So why would things get worse? Why does the birth process involve the journey, the pressure journey through the birth canal? Why does the birth of the chicken, the hatching of the chicken, involve the breaking of the egg? Why does the birth of the metamorphosis to a butterfly involve the melting down of the caterpillar? Because it is a quantum state change, a quantum state change. It is a quantum change in the way of being, in the nature of our own nature, of our reality, of our world. So for that to happen, generally there has to be some incentive, some pressure, some push. Now, the good news is, and this is the purpose, as the Rebbe explains, of the increased pressure, war, evil, etc. The purpose is to catalyze a shift. What shift? This shift. This is the next edge for humanity. Your own next edge, the shifts that you've been holding back on in your life, in living your purpose, in pursuing your wisdom, in shifting your way of being, in facilitating your metamorphosis. That's part of it, because it's a holographic universe. But this is a shift that all of humanity needs to go through, and is going through, and it's only going to accelerate. So the good news is that we can consciously, we're not chickens, we're not even newborn babies, definitely not caterpillars. We are conscious beings, and therefore we can use our consciousness, our connection to our souls, to God, to actually align ourselves with this shift willingly and intentionally, and thus not need the pressure, not feel it as pressure, certainly not as pain. So I've shared this in various places before, but maybe not recently. I've given birth a number of times, thank God. And I've had a variety of different experiences. In one experience, which was actually the longest labor that I had, my second born child, my first daughter, it was 21 hours. And I had taken a course in a certain type of birthing called the Swiss method. And they basically taught us to take a deep breath in, to feel the contraction coming on, take a deep breath in. I hope this doesn't bother any guys who might be on the call. And then feel the contraction rising. And then as the contraction rises and falls, you breathe in and out, rising with it, like a visualization of going up with it, going up with it, going up with it, and then going down with it and down with it and down with it. And I was able, because I prepared myself for days ahead of time, meditation and practice, I was prepared. And the moment the first contraction started, I was riding it like this. It was a beautiful meditation. And for 21 hours, I was doing this. And the more intense the pressure didn't bother me. I just stayed with the rhythm. And to the point where when I was in the elevator with the doula who had just had a baby and had a large baby belly still, and I was having a contraction, intense contraction. I was almost in transition then. Nobody knew which one of us was pregnant. And I laughed through my contractions. I laughed through transition. Was there no pressure? There was pressure, but I didn't resist it. I didn't say, oh my gosh, pain, no, help. I'm like, I can ride this. This is bringing birth about. It doesn't feel like pain. It's just pressure. And it's so fascinating because disassociating the story about the pain, when I have you do the deep listening, I encourage you to let go of the story. You must let go of the story because the story causes the pain. But when you just feel the feelings in your body with curiosity, with acceptance, with flow, oftentimes the sensations completely change, by the way. Pain can turn to actual pleasure. Certainly, it can be a neutral experience that you can laugh at, laugh with, laugh about. So without minimizing the challenges that people can have, we are in transition and we have the choice of resisting it, doing like many women do completely unsuccessfully every single time and say, I'm not doing this now, I'm going home. Or we can learn to ride it. We can learn to flow with it. And when we flow with it, it becomes miraculous because we are conscious beings, because we are holographic, because each of our work, every step that each of us takes, you can take off the snow globe now, Dev. Every step that each of us takes is making a difference for the whole. So your purpose, your challenges, your triumphs, your decision to flow with something, to change even a small thing, your next edge, to reach your next edge in your personal life, it doesn't have to be giant, a giant leap. It's usually a little tiny thing like make a date for that gathering. My influencers know this well. Make a date, set a date, choose a title. Who are you going to call? It's tiny little things that we resist just because snake, just because there's a natural resistance in the universe. But what we want to do now is change that resistance to flow. That's the quantum change. And to finish my sentence that got really long here, when you make even a tiny change in alignment with this whole process, it changes the direction of the world. Many, many things have happened that have changed the direction already. We're doing well. Believe it or not, we're doing really well. We've missed so many of the most negative prophecies. We want to keep missing them. We want to keep upping our game. And that is the privilege of the people in our car of the train, our soul tribe. That is the privilege that we have. Okay, so I'm now looking at my notes because I'm more than usual in the flow in my receiving brain. So we see that these are two fields. You can share the slide on two fields if you like, David. So the sign of the shift, there's signs of the shift in the world. One of the principles of Torah and authentic Kabbalah as the blueprint for creation is that when something is revealed from the Torah, which is God's infinite wisdom and will, when something's revealed from the Torah, because it's the time has come, then something else will happen in the world. There's a parallel, Torah, blueprint, world, something gets built, something emerges. So we see that there is a huge emergence in the world now that corresponds to this divine process, not by accident. What are some of those signs? For example, the law of attraction. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? And you can say, it was in this book by Napoleon Hill or this book by, whatever. or it was publicized or popularized in the movie The Secret, or What the Bleep Do We Know, or whatever. Those are all great milestones that people were inspired from above to step into those possibilities that needed to happen. But where did that come from? Where, from when and where do we have this thing that our consciousness actually changes reality? Einstein didn't say that. He said the opposite. My father, a world famous physicist, told me when I was doing energy work for him, he said, Shifra, it doesn't matter how much you want it. There's the world, and then there's you. Okay, that's not what quantum physicists say. So there's a shift, and people don't realize necessarily what is the underlying Torah, divine God shift that is catalyzing them to notice these new phenomenon. I don't think that in many cases they even realize that they're new. Like I've heard people describe the law of attraction as some ancient wisdom that was hidden from us. Things didn't used to work this way. We were locked in the snow globe. Maybe there were a few exceptions, but humanity was locked in the snow globe. Now we're being given the keys. Law of attraction. Dr. Joe Dispenza, his name is coming up even more now than ever before, who has worked with scientific studies and large groups year after year, doing deep meditations and catalyzing, measuring brain waves and correlating them with quantum healing that happens on the spot, like diseases resolved, fatal diseases, people getting out of wheelchairs, all kinds of things. These are just signs of the time. Energy healing, the rise in technology, internet, whatever's coming down the pipe. I don't know if med beds are real, but people are talking about them more and more. So probably. So there is more and more divine potential from outside of the snow globe seeping into the world. What is our role right now to connect to what is coming in? Your next edge in connection with what's coming in. That way we make a connection to a new morphic field. So let's look at this next slide here. So the new morphic field is not fully defined yet. I mean, I'm just choosing to say to have the field on the left be the old morphic field, even though it's prettier, and the field on the right being the new morphic field. Really, the new morphic field is infinitely vaster than the old morphic field, but it's farther away. So it looks smaller from a distance and we can't see the details, and it hasn't emerged in full color yet because we're bringing it in. So a morphic field is, as I said before, it is a dimension of reality that has gravity. It pulls things in. When you're connected to a morphic field, you are actually subject to its laws of cause and effect. Just like when you go to a different country, if they have different traffic rules, you better know the rules and you better abide by the rules or you'll get a ticket, right? If you're connected to the mainstream medical system, you'd better use the techniques and tools that are, provided there. Just saying. Whatever the field is that you're connected to has its laws of cause and effect, and you want to be able to operate within those. So there was, since the eating from the tree of knowledge, a field that all of humanity, like a snow globe, like this field on the left, was stuck in. And it's because of the gravity, because it holds just like the earth. Now people are questioning whether gravity is real. I don't really understand the question, but I'm questioning whether anything is real. So I guess I'm good with that. Anyway, the field pulls us in and holds us, makes it harder to break out, just like in the old rocket launches, like the Apollo rocket launches, or even before or after. I guess now it's SpaceX launches. I haven't watched one of those, but in the Apollo launches, they would have a giant explosion that would push the rocket off the launch pad, T-10, 9, 8, and then they would have another booster rocket, I think usually 2 booster rockets, because it would take more propulsion to get the rocket out of the atmosphere of the Earth so that it wasn't pulled back to the Earth and crash on the ground, but it would orbit, it would get into an orbit. Okay, even more if it has to get out of orbit, go somewhere else. Like go to the moon or go who knows where. Who knows what's really happening. But in any case, in our example here, we are connected to the old morphic field, the morphic field of the past, the morphic field. What's true about the morphic field of the past? So we'll go over that in a minute in specific ways. We have another slide that will that will help you with that, understand that, and we'll be working more with it tomorrow as well, to really start understanding how to disconnect from the morphic field of the past, which is death, limitations. Oh, we'll talk about it in a second. Going to the morphic field of the future. The morphic field of the future is completely different. This is a morphic field of unlimited possibility, of direct connection with the divine, with God, of the revelation of your own soul and your soul powers, and many, many other things. It's outside of the snow globe. So if we really wanted to collapse the two slides, we would have a picture of brilliant illuminated space outside of the field of the past. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between those two fields. And David, if you can put up the next slide. So I'm going to introduce you to these. Again, they're in the class in detail. And then tomorrow we're going to talk more about how specifically to disconnect from the old field and connect to the new field. We'll be starting that today. So these two fields are called Mamale Kol Almin, which literally means or. Mamale Kol Almin, or is light in Hebrew. Mamale means to fill, Kol means all, and Almin is Aramaic for worlds. So the light, the divine light that fills all worlds, that's the field on the left. That's the old field. The field on the right, the new field that's just emerging, is the Or HaSovev Kol Almin, or Sovev Kol Almin in short. I forgot to translate that in the slide, sorry. That is the light that surrounds or transcends all worlds. Okay, maybe I don't know if it's too hard to update that now, but maybe before tomorrow. So the light that transcends or surrounds all worlds. That would be like Mamale Kol Almin would be like the snow globe. You're stuck in it, whatever there is, you can, mine it, but you can't get any more. It's a closed system. It's the light that fills all worlds. So how does that work in terms of the divine blueprint, the template? The lights in vessels. Lights in vessels. That means that you can have a potential, like Gabby asked, isn't this a time also of increased potential? 1 billion%, more than that. But in the old field, we have to be a vessel for the light. So that means that you could make something happen, but you have to work hard. You have to have the education. You have to have the resources. You have to do the process. It doesn't work any other way. The one who works harder, the one who works smarter, that's the one who gets the results. It's the laws of nature, cause and effect. Divine light is hidden within the laws of nature. So Kabbalah tells us, Hasidus tells us that the core truth of creation, Ein Od Milbado, there is nothing but God. There's nothing but the one. What does that mean? What does that make this protein drink? What does that make this laptop that I'm looking at? What does it make these pictures behind me, or this body, or this mind for that matter, if there's nothing but God? So just let that float. But that's the reality. But in order for the gestation of humanity, which we are completing now, we have completed it, more or less, that has to be hidden from us. We have to be in the snow globe where we're kept protected and limited so that we can grow according to the plan and nothing can interfere. Until 9 months is done. When 9 months is done, there's no more staying in the womb. Things have to move. And that's where the pressure comes in. That's where the last 3 years have come in. That's where what's coming down now is coming in, because we have to move. Back to Mamale Kol Almin. It corresponds to Emunah in Hebrew, which means faith, belief. What is faith? Faith is beyond the intellect. I don't see it. I feel so small. I don't know, want to cry, but I have faith. I know, I believe there's something higher. There's a hidden good. Yes, that's holy, holy, holy. But that's the old field. What's the new field? We'll get there in a minute. So Mamale Kol Almin corresponds to faith, emunah. You're trapped inside the snow globe, like we said, a small, vulnerable human being in a sometimes hostile world. Anybody can pick it up and shake it and make the snow fall, right? Doesn't feel like that. Like, who knows what's going to happen next? It's subject to many, many laws, all the laws of nature, the cycles, like I said, run by the cycle angels, the Ophanim. The laws of cause and effect. You can only create something from something. That's why if you're not smart enough, or if you're not young enough or old enough, or if you're not educated enough, or if you don't have the right resources, or if you didn't come from the right upbringing, or if you're not in the right mood, or if you're just you and somehow, This is how it is for you. You can't create beyond what you can create. You can't create a future that doesn't equal the past if you're subject to this. Not in a huge, meaningful way. Yes, you can make leaps using the power of the mind in a different way. But the reason that we can make real leaps is because we're moving into the new field. And when we talk about real leaps, we're talking about something supernatural. We're not talking about just empowerment, which is also super important. My original intention with this 3-day challenge was empowerment. It's gone beyond that. Anyway, the future field is the Or HaSovev Kol Almin. I used to have a goldfish. I lived for, one of my kids brought home a bag of goldfish and a plastic bag in water with like 6 goldfish in it. I don't know if any of you ever had that experience, but I had to go get a goldfish bowl, and the goldfish went in the bowl, and then they all died, except for one. And that one lived for 3 years, and I got him ultimately a big tank. I fell in love with him. I walked in the room and he would start to swim in circles. And of course I named him Sovev because Sovev means encompassing or circling or transcending. It's not really, it's the light that's outside of the snow globe, but the truth is that it's divine light that's also inside of the snow globe, but it's too subtle because there's nothing outside of the divine. It's too subtle, too huge, too powerful to be able to be seen by our Mamale Kol Almin eyes. So in Sovev Kol Almin, the light is too unlimited to be contained in vessels. You can't work for it. You can't make it happen by doing the right things because it's a different field. It's coming from a different field. It's not subject to the laws of nature. It corresponds not to emunah, faith, but to bitachon, which is trust. For those of you who have not heard this before, the difference between emunah and bitachon, they're totally connected. And bitachon is built on the foundation of emunah, but the difference is that emunah or emunah is the belief that whatever it is, it's coming from a good place, it's coming from divine love, but maybe you need a hard lesson because, for reasons you don't understand, or maybe you're doing a rectification from a past life, or maybe, somehow it's going to be good, even though you can't see it, maybe in a future world. That's faith. Bitachon is God's got my back. I don't have to worry about anything because it's going to turn out good here in the physical world. So what's a difference interestingly, between Mamale Kol Almin and Sovev Kol Almin? Sovev Kol Almin takes the light from outside of the snow globe and starts to change the reality inside of the snow globe. And that's bitachon, where the 3D reality, the physical reality, is now morphing in real time because of the light of the divine, of Sovev Kol Almin that's being brought in. By what? By us. God is making it available. It's up to us to bring it in. Okay, so that's the changing of the nature of nature, which is part of the redemption. Sovev Kol Almin is the Tzav Hashah. It's the call of the hour. We have to connect to that field. The snow globe will be shaken until we do connect to that field, if that makes it any more enticing. So you're able to start venturing beyond the snow globe now by free will. We don't have to wait for more shaking. We can shake ourselves out of our sleep. It's all about awakening. We can be direct partners with the Creator in bringing that divine vision into being. And that is the name of the game right now. As opposed to Mamale Kol Almin, which is cause and effect. You have to be able to see the path. I want to do that. I can't see any way how. I've been there a billion times. Who else has been there? Who else has felt like you really, really want to accomplish something, but you just can't see how? It just feels so impossible, so scary. So I just don't see it working out. Put me in the chat, whatever platform you're on. I want to hear me. I want to see me in the chat. Shira, show me those knees. Okay, that's Mamale Kol Almin. Keep the me's coming. I want to know where we're all at, because we're going to soon say goodbye to this paradigm, this field. I want to hear from everybody. If you engage, you get so much more out of what you're doing. The question is, how many people have been stuck by not knowing how to do something, or not feeling like it's in their personality to do something, or not knowing if it's going to work out if they try to do something? Me. Yeah, I could put money on everybody who is telling the truth here is going to say me, and me, for sure. That's Mamale Kol Almin. It's also the voice of the snake. As we move to Sovev Kol Almin, we are we gain the possibility of direct quantum co-creation, something from nothing. You don't have to know where it's going to come from. You don't have to know anything. You just have to be in that frequency. You just have to be in that connection. You just have to be in that state of bitachon, trust. Trust is exactly this. Trust, as described by the Torah, is that state of calm knowing that it's going to work out in a way of revealed good. That means abundance of wealth, abundance of health, abundance of love, however it is. I mean, we can't say, necessarily it's going to be exactly this moment or exactly this way, but trust is, especially because trust is a practice that we need to build. We need to build the wiring. Tomorrow we'll be talking about rewiring the brain. You do not want to miss tomorrow's class. You do not want to. We're going to be talking more deeply about connecting to Soviet Kalamine, disconnecting from the gravity of Mamali Kalamine, which keeps pulling us back into the collective, which is being shaken more and more. No, we don't need to be pulled into the collective. We need to pull ourselves into the light of the future, the field of the future, where things get created, something from nothing, yesh me'ayin. So again, more details on this tomorrow. I'm going to check the chat in a second. I just want to tell you guys, in case you don't know, some of you do, because you've heard me talk about it, or you are my students, or you've been my students. Many years ago, like 5-6 years ago, learned how to play the lime green car game. It's really important to be able to play that game. And that is, you just start a search for lime green cars, or if you see lime green cars already, or if you played that game already, start a search for hot pink cars, or start a search for eagles, or start a search for smiley faces, or choose something that you want to attract into your reality. And don't do anything to make it happen. Just watch for it and notice it when it happens. So sorry if I'm repeating, but probably I'm repeating for several people, but very quickly, this is so important. The first time I learned how to play this game, I was looking for lime green cars. The teacher told us that if we don't have any cars, if we live on a desert island, look for something else. You're not trying to create something completely out of nothing that isn't possible, although that is possible too. Actually, I've done that too in certain ways. I mean, obviously with God, but the lime green cars in Israel, I had never seen any, never noticed any. The cars are mostly white or black. We're in, the subtropical desert. And so I decided I'd try. I was watching for a day, 2 days, 3 days, didn't see any. And I was standing at the window of my office. I'll never forget this moment, thinking, okay, this is stupid. Give up. There are no lime green cars in Israel. Choose something else. At that very moment, when I was standing there looking out the window thinking this, a lime green car pulled out from inside the Machne Yehuda Shuk. If you know that market in Jerusalem, there are no cars driving in there in the day. And it pulled out directly underneath the building where I was living, and on the side of the street where cars don't drive. It went the wrong direction, right under my nose. And then the next day I went out and I saw 6, and the day after that I saw 23. And then I told my husband, and by the time I got back to Brooklyn for a visit, the cabs had all turned lime green. What happened? I can't tell you exactly. What I can tell you is that in Sovev Kol Almin, the laws of nature don't apply. I've had so many different ways of playing this game and getting insane results that I don't want to, we have short time, it's precious. I don't want to tell you more examples right now, but there are so many, and you can play this yourself. So you have to start questioning. Part of Sovev Kol Almin is you have to start questioning the nature of reality. Are we really stuck in a snow globe, or is it a hologram? Are we really slaves to the laws of nature, or is there a way out? And if there's a way out, what is that way out? And that's what we need to know, and that's what we're going to be exploring here. I'm just going to take a moment to look at the comments and questions, and then check my notes. And I think we're going to be going into the meditation and the fairy dust momentarily. Okay, I'm just scrolling through. Yeah, no wonder to be screamed at all the time. No wonder to be self-critical. Okay, by the way, VIPs, those of you who are on Zoom, again, if you came on late, we're going to have a break after this. The session's not finished. And tomorrow we're going to go much deeper into the how. So do not miss it. Please invite your friends to sign up for this challenge, for the free challenge at gateofunity.com/next edge. So bring your friends and let's increase the consciousness. Let's increase the field that we're creating here. What I did not say about these fields, about morphic fields, is the more people connect to a morphic field, the stronger its gravity becomes. The more people who disconnect, the weaker its gravity becomes. If you're noticing that there's a change in the trajectory of what seemed to be happening in the last 3 years, that's because people are becoming more and more conscious. People are awakening and they're saying no, and they're moving to a different direction, and that is weakening the gravity of the field. Everything changes everything. So invite your friends to join. If you want to join VIP to be part of the extra sessions where we'll have ample time for Q&A and some coaching. You didn't have to do that, but thank you. You can do that during the break. We'll put this up during the break. I'm just letting people know. Okay, because I want to say I'm not going to be able to answer all the questions here, but we'll have much more time in the much more intimate group of the VIP. So I'm looking, why does it feel like this might be forbidden by Hashem? What particularly? Law of attraction? Can you please explain, Eliza M., what might be forbidden? I can answer that really briefly. No, I can't answer it briefly enough. I can tell you that there are many sources in the Torah for this. But why does it seem like it might be forbidden? Because things weren't possible in the same way in the past. And so traditionally, culturally, and spiritually, there was a different service. There was a different divine service. Like the way that the Torah works is it becomes revealed in successive generations, right? First it was the 10 Commandments, then the download to Moses in 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then the transmission to the elders and so forth, and then the revelation of the Mishnah, and then the Talmud, the Gemara, and then, et cetera, and then authentic Kabbalah, and then Chassidus, and that's the way that it works. The Torah was all given to Moses on Mount Sinai, but compacted in code that is revealed at the right time. Just like the DNA, right? The Torah is the DNA of the universe. A DNA of a child, a DNA of a plant, the DNA of anything unfolds as the child matures. What's going to come out when a baby is in the womb is not the same thing that's going to come out when he's graduating from college, right? Or becoming a grandfather, grandmother. So that's, and by the way, when we change our beliefs and our connections, we change our DNA literally, we change our destiny literally, and we simultaneously change the DNA of the world because it's all connected. It's a hologram. Okay, I'm still scrolling. See a lot of me's. That's great. State of surrender is definitely part of it, but it's not just plain surrender. It's surrender with action. We need to talk about this. So how that works. I'm just reading, sorry, just excuse me. I'm just looking at what you guys have been saying. So does it matter if you really want and care about seeing the lime green car? If you really want it, it's going to be harder to see it. That's a big problem. That is a big incentive to go deeper and to just trust the flow and not to get hard set on specific things, but in general, to be more general and soft about it. Like one day I decided I was going to attract, I had enough of lime green cars. I decided I was going to attract polka dots. So for a day, I didn't see any polka dots. And then I'm like, and I got frustrated, maybe 2 days. And then I'm like, you know what? I reminded myself, I was standing outside on the sidewalk near my building where I lived in Jerusalem. And I was thinking, you know what? You're trying too hard. Now, you remember to attract, you have to have a really soft focus. You're just like, you're noticing, but you're not staring. You're just allowing. I kid you not, within 10 seconds, somebody comes around the corner holding a polka dot bag. And then I saw, of course, a bunch of polka dots, more polka dots that day. Anyway, so the more you need, it's not about wanting. We'll talk about this. We might talk about it still today. I have to see if we have time for it, but it's about needing. Needing is a problem. Wanting from the place of desire, a relaxed allowing, a leaning into, an aligning with, an excitement about, a connection to, is very, very powerful and very attractive, very co-creative. Need, which is connected to fear. I need it. What if I don't have it? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Shoulds and don't wants. That connects you to the field of the past. Okay. More examples afterwards in VIP. So just ask me when we get to VIP. Okay. So forgive me for not answering more questions right at this minute, but I want to give you as much as I can, and we only have 3 days together to do it. So we'll do more questions in VIP, or if I'll have a couple minutes. I'm not going over 90 minutes maximum for the session, so we're at 65 right now. 65, yeah, right. So anyway, let us take a quick look at the chart of human design. David, yeah, here we go. So for those of you who've seen this before, I've seen it before too. Here's a pro tip. When you're moving from the field of Mamali Kol Almin to Soviv Kol Almin, are you on transmit or are you on receive? So one of the things that the left brain does that's really super powerful in terms of keeping us in the past is telling us, I already know this. Oh, I've seen this before. Oh, I know this. Tune out, check my WhatsApp, check my Instagram. Don't do that. Don't do that. When it comes to Torah and divine truth, the more you hear it, it's not just that it goes into your memory, it reveals new layers because it's infinite truth. So when you hear something a first time, all you get is like the information bouncing off the surface of your brain, like water going into a dry sponge. When you hear it the second time, now it starts to go in a little bit. Hear it the third time, now the water spreads, the information spreads. Tomorrow we'll talk about how this actually works to rewire the brain, literally. Okay, but for now, we want to understand this on a new level. So if you haven't seen the chart of human design, welcome to this. This is a creation of mine, very loosely based on the tree of life of the Kabbalistic structure of the soul. And we're going to look at it from the point of view of the two fields. So the left side of the chart is the field of the past, right? I'm not going to go into it in detail, but the left side of the chart is the field of the past, which is our limiting beliefs based on the past, based on our DNA, based on past lives, based on our families, based on our experience, reinforced by our experience. Every time we have a belief and then it comes true, we act on it and then it comes true. We'll talk about beliefs more tomorrow. Then we have a result that reinforces the belief, like sewing a button on with 1,000 stitches. It's going to be really hard to get rid of that. It will feel true because it's so tightly wired in. Then we have our habituated emotions. And our emotions, if you're familiar with any of these new techniques that I've talked about, Joe Dispenza or Greg Braden or any others, some of these people I have interviewed in summits and hope to in the future. So you will already know that our beliefs are the deepest level. Our emotions create a vibrational resonance that literally sends out a message into the field, whether it's inside the snow globe or out, that will pull in things that have the similar frequency. Like entrainment, that's called entrainment, like the tuning fork. If you hit a tuning fork, that's an F in a room full of tuning forks of different notes, the F tuning forks will start to vibrate. That's like the opera singer who hits a certain frequency that breaks glass. So everything is frequency, because when you're looking from the perspective of Soviv Kol Almin, everything is God, everything is divine light, everything is quantum energy, everything is frequency. And you can almost make a parallel of those things, of all of those things. Different perspectives on the same thing. So like attracts like. That's a truth. Interesting that we fight against what we don't want using, I'm afraid, so I'll fight against it, which generates more fear, which attracts more fear. So that's another hint in terms of the shift. We'll be working with this throughout the 3 days. I hope you work with it throughout the whole transition. And then we have our coping behaviors. So that all I want to look at it in terms of the chart right now, because of time, is how the left side works. It corresponds to the old field. It has a gravity. And on the personal level, how that works is you have your own world. Like you could see, they say that they've done studies of people who, let's say, watched a traffic accident, forbid, or whatever. And they'll try to get eyewitness accounts, and they find that everybody's describing it differently. So there's an expression in the Torah, Ein Deosei and Shavos, that no two people's perspective is alike. This is a function of the eating of the tree of knowledge, Das, where consciousness, cosmic consciousness that Adam and Eve had, fell and became very limited, personalized, biased, subjective consciousness, made further distorted by the voice of the snake, which is also internalized, constantly beating you up, criticizing you, telling you what's wrong, keeping you on transmit, and usually in a very negative way. These are the things that keep wiring us to the snow globe so that we don't even believe it's a snow globe. This is just reality. Just reality. Like my dad said to me, Shipper, there's a world and then there's you and what you want and what you believe. They don't mesh. They don't mesh. The world exists. Well, not really. Not like we think it does. Only when we're stuck in the snow globe, when we're stuck on the left side of the chart, when we're stuck in the morphic field of a molecule Ami. Now, this is not something we did to ourselves. This is a function of the blueprint for creation. I want to make that really clear. That was the divine plan. God did that because it was time for gestation. When it's time for gestation, when it's time to melt down, and if you're a caterpillar in the cocoon, nobody should be cutting open that cocoon because it's going to abort the process and you're going to be gone, right? So in building a new life, there's always this stage where there's an enclosed system, closed system that must stay closed in order for a certain type of maturation to happen. And it's only when that maturation, when that evolutionary step is complete, that system, that it's even safe for it to open, that we're ready for it to open. And when that happens, we need to move, because if we don't move, the system we're in is going to squish the life out of us. So what works and what is right for one time flips on its head when it's done and becomes the opposite of what's right, and we need to move. And if I can tell you one thing about this coming year, you've got to let it move you. Be a fluid, flow with things, notice what's happening, be on receive. Be on receive. Remember I said at the beginning of the call, I didn't say it in these terms, but what we resist persists. When we have an inner potential and energy that's rising from without and from within, it can feel really disrupted. It can make you feel like you want to cry. I wanted to cry half the day today until I finally took the time to sit and say, okay, tune in. You know this, tune in. What's going on? And immediately I could feel the energy, not the reaction, not the reactivity to the energy. So when you're on transmit, take a look at the red side of the chart. When you're on transmit, you're in reactivity to the energy that you're feeling, and that comes out as these toxic emotions that became imprinted and embedded in the human experience after the eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This is the voice of the snake that's designed to keep us trapped in the field on purpose. It had a holy intention. It served its purpose. Now it's time to move. Where are we moving? We're moving to another field. How does that field operate? We use ourselves differently. Instead of basing our beliefs on our experience of the past. It never worked for me, so it's never going to work for me. My parents couldn't do it, so I can't do it. I didn't grow up knowing how, so I'll never know how. Like that, we need to look forward into a desire for the future, which emerges now in that dimension of the present moment, which is infinite. And unformed, the space of transformation, the Omek, O-M-E-K. Okay, so when we operate based on a desire, and I've talked about this extensively, this has been the main thrust of many of the free programs that I've done and the paid programs also. We will, by the way, in Awakening, we will not be working with this extensively in the 3-day challenge. We will be working with it extensively in Awakening Divine Power, should you choose to join that program, or if you're influencers, you'll get it automatically as part of your membership. But for now, you need to know that the operating motivation that connects us to the field of Soviet Kol Almin is desire. What is desire? Desire is a combination of pleasure and will. I want this, and therefore I'm pulled toward it. Not I don't want it, and therefore I'm reacting to it. I want it, and so I'm opening and moving toward it. And that unleashes the inner knowing of the mind and the inspiration of the mind and the love emotions, the forward emotions of the heart and the behaviors that go with that. And that is living in the present in a state of bitachon, of trust, aligning ourselves with the things that we truly desire, not because they already exist and not because we know how to get there necessarily, although we do aligned actions that will support that desire. I'll say more about that in a moment. But in a state of trust and not knowing. Remember, transmit is knowing, left brain. Receive, which is connected to Soviet Amin, is unknowing, not knowing, open and allowing. Okay. There was something else I wanted to say about this, but it's left my mind at the moment. So if it comes back up, I'll share it. All right. So are there any quick questions on this? Sure. If you want to share anything with me. I'm just looking here if there's anything I can answer really quickly. Colleen, your questions are deep, so I can't answer them that quickly. Yeah, okay, these are deep questions. These are deep questions. If you're in the VIP, we'll try to spend some time with them. That's what the VIP is for questions, for coaching, and so forth. But for now, let me just check in and see if there's anything else I want to say about this. Let me also check my notes. And if not, we're going to go into our first experience here. Although maybe you're having an experience already. I hope so. Okay, so what I want to do is ask you to close your eyes again. This isn't going to be super long, but I want you to open to this as an experience that's going to emerge from within you. So I'm only providing the container for the experience. The experience is yours. It's going to be unique to you. And this is where we're going to start to connect with our next edge, your next edge. So we have opened the discussion on the next edge for humanity. And that is to connect to a different field of reality. I'll let you know that I've been thinking for the last many weeks more and more that this is a simulation, this is a hologram, this is not real. I feel it. I need to tune in order to feel it sometimes. Your body is also not solid. Your body is an infinitely supernaturally complex sensing mechanism. It's consciousness that is focused and thickened in a sense, designed to take in information through these things that we call senses that are divinely created, that help create the illusion that we're living in a solid world. And your body, just to give you a hint, is taking in not only, feel it. If your eyes are closed, feel the air on your face. Feel how you can feel movement of air that maybe you didn't notice a second ago. That's your consciousness. That's called your body. Sensing the temperature of the air. I can feel cold moving on the left side. I can feel more heat up on the right side of my forehead. Listen with your ears. Notice your body sensing what we call sounds, which is a certain kind of vibrational wave. What's a sound? The brain is making that up based on what the consciousness, that sensory consciousness that we call, sensing consciousness that we call the body, is picking up. The brain interprets it and projects a world, projects an actual world. Now, the body, there's a story. Your eyes should be closed now. Our meditation has begun. There's a story of two great sages, two great Rebbes, known as the Alter Rebbe and the Berditchever Rebbe. They were related and they were at a wedding of mutual relatives in the 1700s. And it was really, really, really crowded. Like there was literally no space to move. And the Berditchever Rebbe said to the Alter Rebbe, "It's impossible to get out of here. Why don't we just go through the wall?" And the Alter Rebbe said, "Not, what are you talking about? We can't go through the wall." He said, "The time has not yet come for that. Right now, we should walk through the crowd. The time has not yet come for that." So what does that mean? That means that the supernatural, focused, held in place through the sensory mechanisms and the interpretation that they project through the brain that we call the world, that it's time for that to expand, for that dense, focused consciousness that holds us in one place and in one situation, it's time for it to start to open and soften, connected to Soviet Kalami. So just feel into that for a moment. What would it be like? Can you feel your body feeling things? Can you feel your body sensing things? Move your fingers. Just notice the air, the temperature, the sound. Think about something that makes you emotional, excited, happy, angry, sad, worried, just for a second. And notice the energy in your body, how immediately your body senses that and interprets it into energy, which then has an impact on what we call the physicality of the body. Listening, Soviet Kalami, listening, receiving, not transmitting, listening. We're listening and we're learning. And we're listening some more. And we're learning some more. And we're listening some more. So I want you to imagine the metaphor of the caterpillar, and you're the caterpillar. And it's very safe, so don't be worried. Nothing to be afraid of. We're just exploring something magical. Keep your eyes closed and stay with me and stay with you. Mostly stay with you. So you've been worming your way along the ground, stopping in front of this, every now and then in front of a giant bright green blade of grass and nibbling on it, and then climbing up and down the blades of grass and moving on a little bit and trying to avoid that bird that you see or hear in the tree, and basking in the sun and not really getting very far. But that's your life, and it's a good one. And then comes time for the change. Then comes time for the metamorphosis. And suddenly you're wrapping yourself in a cocoon. Being a caterpillar, you're not that conscious, but you're wrapping yourself in a cocoon, in a tight bandage that holds you stiffly in place. Now you can't walk. You can't feel the sun. You can't see anything outside of the cocoon. Can't see anything at all. It's dark in there, I imagine. And what happens to you as you're in the cocoon? You start to melt. Literally, melt into gel. And that process takes a while. As one part of you that used to look a certain way now doesn't look that way anymore. As one function that you used to have, now you don't have. And basically the entire caterpillar melts down into a gel. And at that point, certain cells that we'll talk about tomorrow, called imaginal cells, like the word imagine, imaginal cells start to activate. The imaginal cells hold the vision, the DNA of the new version of you. And as those imaginal cells begin to vibrate stronger and stronger in your system, that vibration catches on, and the melted down caterpillar feet turn into these beautiful colors of the wings, and so on. Until the entire caterpillar gel is now turned into a completely new being. Colorful, magical, can fly, ephemeral, can move from place to place, is not looking down and eating grass anymore. And although this is just a metaphor, keep your eyes closed. Although this is a metaphor, God creates things in the world as living metaphors. You are also a metaphor. Everything in your life is a metaphor, just like the biblical characters, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, are real people, according to the Jewish Torah belief, but are also metaphors. For example, Abraham represents supernal chachma, divine wisdom. You also represent and are carrying qualities of God in your life. but you're doing it from a place of mamali kol almin, earthbound, limited. And the process of the transformation, of the transmutation, of the metamorphosis is always started with more limitation, more constriction. I did not appreciate being locked down. However, it's pretty interesting that that concept was introduced to humanity at this time, that we are now aware that we've been in a situation where someone has the power to tell us, don't leave your house. What? I didn't know that before. Did you know that before? And am I okay with that? Nope. Speaking for myself. So they're beliefs that we have as people, conscious beings that are melting down. They're ways that we saw the world that are melting down. There's predictability. History repeats. Every one of us expected the world to kind of go on the way it always had gone on. Maybe it's harder to remember that now because we have spun out into the unknown, because we are in the birth now. We're in the transition, in the birth canal. But think back to where you felt like everything was going to go on the way it always did. You could depend on the government. You could depend on the doctors. You could depend on the law. You could depend on maybe you didn't believe this, but you could depend on something staying the same. The last few years have taught us, no, you can't. No, you can't. That's the meltdown. That's a divine process. So I want you to be with this within yourself for just a few moments. I want you to take this away as well from today's training. I want you to wire this in. I want you to write this down when we finish the training. I want you to really practice it till it becomes part of you. Knowing that when you feel like something's melting down, you can resist it. Like I was doing in the earlier part of the day, what we resist persists, or you can understand that it is new potential. It's movement, moving you from one quantum state to another completely different quantum state of being. From mamali kol almin to soviv kol almin. From exile to redemption. From separateness to oneness. From earthbound to miraculous, co-creative. From stuck in one place to who knows what. Walking through walls and who knows what. So understand what's happening and flow with the meltdown. Allow things to move you. Allow things to emerge from within. Listen. Notice when you're on transmit and get yourself over to receive. Notice when you're on transmit and get yourself over to receive. So I just want to invite you now to be in this space and think about what's happening in your life. I'm going to make it really personal now. And pay attention because it's going to be your fairy dust for today. Your homework, your cocoon work, your butterfly work. What are you resisting in your life? That if you would start to let it move you, you would break through to your next edge. And here you can picture stepping stones. You're on the edge of a stepping stone looking at what would it be like if I could start that project, create that gathering, start that group, join that program, start that program, join that gym, eat that way, pray that way, learn that thing, have that conversation, make that phone call, reach out in that relationship or whatever it is. And you're standing on a stepping stone with the water in between you and the next stone, and you're looking at it and you're like, if only I were over there, but I don't know how to get across the water and I'm scared and I don't feel comfortable and I don't know if it will work anyway and is it safe over there and yada, yada, yada. What is that next edge for you? This is really important. So choose an area of life, any of the areas I mentioned or any other, where you're standing at the edge of a stone and looking across deep water and wishing you were on the other side. But really, but really not yet willing to take a leap. I'll give you a few more moments to come up with something. If you're trying to decide between things or you're not sure, just pick something that's bothering you. What kept you up most recently at night? Or what made you jealous when you saw someone else doing it? Let's be real. Jealousy can be a very positive thing if it catapults you to being more of who you are. It's not good to be jealous of someone else's possessions, but it's very good to be jealous of someone else's accomplishments if it motivates you. Jealous meaning you don't want to take it away from them, but you don't want to be left behind either. So you leapfrog forward. So what keeps coming up and keeps falling away, or you keep shying away from, or you keep thinking, yeah, I want that, but maybe someday, one day, I'm not ready. I don't know how. I'm not comfortable. I'm still scared. I'll wait till when. So whatever's top of the mind, you can always choose something else. This is a process that you can do anytime you want. But for now, I want you to pick one thing that you're going to work on this week. And now we're looking at the future. What could it feel like if you were already on the next stone? If you had already gotten across the water? If you're in that renewed relationship, or if you're leading that program, or if you're learning in that with that community, or if your muscles are stronger, or if your vibration is higher because you're drinking green juices or eating oranges or walking in the sunshine or swimming every day, whatever it is for you, what would it look like? What would it feel like? And I want you to go a little bit into the future in your imagination. The power of vision is a very, very deep power, very profound. Very much going to be central in awakening divine power, by the way. So just visualize yourself. I know that some influencers come because they want to write a book, or some want to have a much more spiritual experience, or some want to create a website to provide comfort for people who have experienced a certain kind of trauma. Others want to enhance a practice or start a practice that will be transformational physically or energetically or in some other way. Some are trying to determine how to lean more into the core resonance of the soul's purpose, how to be better parents, how to have different kinds of relationships. Some want to start their own tribe, conversations, conscious conversations, to help shift people's consciousness, to help bring people to a higher level in their own communities, whatever it might be. What is it for you? What do you want? What's the next stone that you're looking at? And what would it feel like to actually be doing that? Don't worry if you feel some fear. Fear goes with the territory. Fear is one of the reasons why you have not taken that leap or have not done what we're going to do next, which is to create a bridge, yesh mi'ayin, something from nothing. So sometimes we can just create a visual and we'll be taken by lime green car magic to the next stone. And that's great, but when we can align ourselves, we're meant to notice our guidance and to act on it. This is the world of action, olam hamaseh, in Kabbalistic terms, and we're meant to act, not out of a push energy, not out of need, not out of desperation, hopefully. Sometimes we do need to rise to an occasion, but we want, whenever possible, whenever we have a choice, to act out of listening, out of sovev, out of a different plane. And generally, I can tell you that some of the places I've done this most are in the places where things weren't possible and I was in a state of need and I had to switch my field really quickly. And I did. I can report that incredible, impossible miracles did take place. So I know this is real. I just know it has to also become a daily, moment to moment way of life and expand more and more till we don't even need the crises to pull us out of our normal way of being. Those crises where the woman lifts up, the car off of whoever, the impossible. We don't need those things. We don't want to need those things. We want to choose based on desire. And the Rebbe said in the class that I gifted you with, that the purpose of all of these challenges is to catalyze this shift so that we out of our own free will begin to connect to this new field in a super rational way, in a way that does not make sense. It doesn't fit the past. It's based on desire. Okay, now looking at your desire fulfilled, what would it feel like if it was alive? What would that feel like? And think about the triumph. Think about the sense of satisfaction. How proud of you are you of yourself? What does it feel like to be in a bigger game? What does it feel like to be in a more intimate, connected relationship, or your program online, or sharing with people who can really benefit from what you have to give? What does it feel like to be with yourself in a new way, to be illuminated, to be in pleasure, to be barefoot in the grass on the beach, to be noticing the sun and the waves and the sparkle and the magic of life in a state of bliss without needing to think about the next moment? All of these things are part of it, are pieces of it, are ways that you can experience your next edge. What is it for you? What does it feel like? So I'll give you just another few moments for that. Restrain myself from talking, and then we're going to start building our bridge. All right, so looking back, standing on the next rock on the other side of the water, you're looking back at where you started from, and stay in your expanded place. If you didn't get to an expanded place, I suggest that you stay with this meditation after the session or after VIP. If you're in VIP, listen to the recording, stay in it until you can really feel it. Give yourself the time. If you need to write, you can write. But looking back from being across in that next edge. So now you're at the next edge of the next stepping stone, looking back to where you started from. What was the first thing you did? And here's where you get up close and personal with your desire. So you're going to create a path forward, not based on the past, based on the future. So, like I said earlier, let's pretend you're creating a gathering for conscious women to work on awakening, or you're writing that book. I don't care what it is. Or you're having that deep, authentic conversation to create more intimacy and more self-expression and more connection, or to make amends for something, or to set a boundary. Okay, what's the first thing you do? What's the first thing you did? Did you make a phone call? Did you make an appointment? Did you set up a time to talk? Or did you choose a title for your new program? Did you choose an avatar? Who was it for? Did you write a list of the results that you would like to facilitate for people? Or the results that you would like to have in that conversation? Or the results you'd like to have in your energy field as you're walking on the beach every day? The results you'd like to have in your body as you're freeing your body from old stagnant energy and allowing flow. Illness is stagnancy, it's lack of flow. The soul gets stuck. Can't flow freely. When it flows completely freely, there's no illness. This is from the mystical Torah, Hasidus. So what's the next step? So here, usually it's something very simple, a title, a date, how you're going to be accountable. So here I want you to think about we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but I want you to think about the next 1, 2, or 3 steps looking back from the future. You're in the vision. You're going to do it. It's a done deal. It's connected to you now. So what are 1, 2, or 3 measurable, defined steps that you will have taken in order to start building a bridge toward that next edge desire? And again, usually it's something as simple as set a date for that, whatever it is. Make a phone call. Well, choose a title, choose an avatar if you're creating a program, as well as a date. Make a phone call to somebody to see if they want to collaborate with you, if they want to have the event in their house, if they want to be your partner. It's another thing that you can do. Join a program that's designed to help you with that specific thing, like building that website. So then the first step would be you went online and you looked at programs, or you reached out to your network of friends who already have websites and you asked them the easiest way. That's a really good hack. But what I'm inviting you to do, we're taking it from the esoteric and the cosmic to the practical, because this is the world of action. So from your part, looking from the future, what are the next 1, 2, or 3 steps that you can take that will move you from the edge of this rock onto a bridge to the next one? Or maybe all the way to the next one, but we don't need to do it all at once. We just need to get off the edge that we're standing in now and start moving toward the next edge. You can go as far as you want, as fast as you want. 1, 2, or 3 steps. So I'm going to stay in this space and then for just a minute or two and let you think about this. And then we'll open our eyes and I'll want to hear from some of you. What are your 1, 2, or 3 next steps? And these will be your fairy dust to take at least one of these steps before tomorrow. And bonus points will be to get an accountability partner. It can be somebody, on the platform that you're watching this from, or somebody in your life, family member, friend. You'll want to know that. You want to let them know as soon as we complete that you've committed to do this action. You're going to do it by what time? What's it going to look like when you're done? How will we know that you finished it? It has to be significant, measurable, and defined. So what's your breakthrough going to look like? And who are you going to tell? Who are you going to call for courage if you need it? And who are you going to tell that you finished it? Who's going to celebrate with you? And please, if you're on Facebook, please share your next edge steps with the Facebook community, and also share the celebration when you complete at least the first one today. So now I'm giving you your minute to keep thinking into this. If you need help with this, if you're in the VIP program, that's part of what we have time for in the continuation of the Zoom once we complete the main session here. Okay, so let's open our eyes. I've just been informed that I've gone over time, so I do have to apologize for that. So let's just hear from you quickly. Anybody want to share your next step? Anyone want to share your next step? Next 1, 2, or 3 steps quickly. I'm looking at the Zoom so I can see what's posted on the Zoom. Share if you want to share anything that people are posting on YouTube or Facebook. If you're not posting something, you guys, you might stay on that old rock for a while longer. But here's the thing, that rock is going to shake. Because we're moving from a world that's solid to a world that's fluid. And you've got to let things move you. You've got to move with it. So Ellen says, set a date. Set a date for what, Ellen? Aviva, I commit to clearing the 1/3 of my work table for 3 days in a row. Awesome. All right. I want to hear from you guys. Who's your accountability buddy? Text Malka to cancel plans for Shabbat. Okay. I'm going to assume this is all for the next edge. Driving, can't post, but listening. All right, but I want you to have an accountability buddy. Obviously, you did just post. Okay, I'm going to set a date and choose a title for my website. By today, Patricia? By today, and who's going to be your accountability buddy? And are you going to let us know on Facebook that it's done? Gabby says, next steps, invite 5 people to also invite for my breakthrough journal workshop. Love it. Lorraine, instead of ending my day at 5 with a glass of wine, I'll step off the rock and spend another hour on my book. Buddy is Teresa. Go, Lorraine. I'm asking everybody to share. If you're not, even if you're a VIP and you're on Zoom, please share on the Facebook today when it's done, so we can generate that field. Every result creates a stronger gravitational field for the new morphic field, pulls more people in, makes it easier for them and for you to get results. We want to create a new gravity. We want to get out of the orbit of the old field and get a gravitational connection to the new field. So share your results. Share your results on the Facebook. Share your result. If you're on Facebook, share your results here. Get an accountability buddy. Share with your friends. Share with your friends that we're doing this. You're doing this next edge challenge. If you feel like it's useful for you, tell them they've got to register. It's free. Let's move this. Let's move the world. Okay. Wendy's my accountability buddy. Take my kids to a tree-lined slope and lay down in the bushes and find a bunny. Oh, that sounds so good, Dara. I love that. Laura, starting in a group with some others, and I'll be teaching Hebrew, which I don't want to do because I don't like to commit. So do you really desire this, Laura? Make sure you really desire it. And if you really desire it, what's the next step? Sometimes not wanting to commit is something we get to break through, and sometimes not wanting to commit is a sign that we don't really want to do the thing. So that's something that takes discernment. Next step, join VIP. Love it. Okay, my buddy's Alicia. Eliza, do more research into what you're saying. Gabby says, setting the goal to have 100 people for the Breakthrough Journal Workshop. Awesome. Practice positive affirmations morning, noon, and night. Okay, Tammy, that's great. What positive affirmations? By when are they going to be written? And who's your accountability buddy? You guys, I want you to see how this works. When it comes to a breakthrough, we are combining the most. Remember how we looked at the snow globe and we talked about how Sobev Kol Almin is outside of the snow globe, but it's also embedded in the snow globe. It's the core of everything. It's the subtle, supernatural divine energy. It's got to move into the snow globe, changing the nature of nature, dissolving the limitations, uplifting everyone, like someone posted earlier. Rising tide floats all boats, lifts all boats. So we must, or we get to, if we want to live a life that's where the future is different from the past, we get to vision our supernatural desires, know and align with ourselves that they are being manifested through bitachon in a loose way. I'm watching for lime green cars. I'm watching for cues on license plates, polka dots. So we can't need it. It's the paradox. We can't need it. We can't be too attached to it, but we can desire it and we can continue to lean into it. And when do we have to give up? Never, unless we want to. So it's a process. So it works by looking at the bigger picture, that lofty picture, knowing what we're about, connecting to the new field, which is cosmic quantum energy, divine energy, and then bringing it down into our own lives. What is the next edge for me? And what's the next step toward that next edge? And how am I going to support myself to make that happen now? And that's how you let it move you. You've got to take action, but inspired action from the right side of the chart. Okay. Call the woman recommended several years ago to share Geula celebrations and see if it interests her. When are you going to do that, Naomi? I've heard you talk about this maybe a year ago or more. When are you going to do this? And I'm not calling you out, because we all talk about things we want for a really long time, because they're big and they're personal, and it's really vulnerable. It's really vulnerable to start to lean into your heart's desires. You don't have to take it from me, but you could take it from me. You can take it from yourself. So nobody's to be faulted in any way, but what do you truly want? And what are you willing to do for it? I'm committing to create my trailer and cover art for my podcast. When and who's going to hold you accountable? I'll be confirming with the woman who asked me that I will. Watch Jody to heal body. Call M to ask her how she got to do what she's doing in her work that I like. Beautiful. Colleen, so many next edges. Finishing my deck. I'll talk to a couple people. I'll talk to okay, beautiful. Okay, I'm just reading the, now I see we're way over time. So you can be reading these with me. I won't read them out loud, but I am reading them. Okay, Vivienne, Gabby, Yafa. I like this. Yafa, write bedtime story tonight, recorded by tomorrow night. That's very concrete, which is excellent. Note how you'll feel. Everybody, I want you to notice you might feel fear, but I want you to go back to the next rock. Leap back there in your imagination, make that quantum leap and feel how it will feel to have completed it. The release of energy. Who are you there? You'll see different things from there that you can't see from here. Edna, vulnerability, conversation with study partner, flat abs exercise. I'll call her tomorrow. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, we're more than complete. Thank you for hanging with me. VIPs, we're going to have a break. So everybody else, the YouTube and the Facebook in a moment, not yet, but in a moment, we'll close the YouTube and the Facebook streams. So David, please put up the link to the VIP and to the Awakening Divine Power program. We're going to be taking about a 7-minute break as soon as those slides go up, or that slide goes up. All right, so if you would like to join VIP and you're not in VIP yet, you can do so during the break and not miss anything. What does VIP give you? I've made it as cost effective as I possibly can. But it, it still takes like even to spend, even to like put a stamp on an envelope takes some energy. So I want that energy from you. I want to challenge anybody who wants to play a bigger game, who wants to be part of this shift. You know what? That is a rah-rah energy that I actually feel, but I don't want to use that energy right now. What I want to say to you is this is all real. And this matters more than anything because it's the doorway to everything. And I don't know most of what's unfolding other than what the Torah says and what I'm getting glimpses of now. But I know so much more than I used to. And I keep knowing more. And I'm in the middle of it too. And I'm designed to bring in new thoughts and new pathways. I'm cosmically designed for that. And to help empower other people and to help teach and support other people to tap into their own purpose, next edge, light, divine power in the context of this incredible, vast, transformational emergence that we're going through now, called Geula, redemption. There isn't anything else. I mean, there's make your food and eat it, and there's pay your bills and get the money to do that, and there's talk to your friends and take care of your kids and take care of yourself. There's that stuff. But all of that is shifting too, because everything is shifting, because the way that is inside the snow globe is different from the way it is outside the snow globe. Very. Very. And that's about all I can really say about it, except that there is a supernatural field that's beckoning to us. Why don't we walk through the walls? The time hasn't come for that yet. Well, you know what? The time has come for that, but we have to make the vessels. We have to create the connections. We have to build the bridge. Not we have to. We don't have to. We get to. I mean, ultimately, we do have to because the snow globe is going to be shaken. But when you're connected outside the snow globe, or when you're anchored to that hidden quantum God energy at the depth of inside everything in the snow globe, you don't have to shake. So I'm in a state of, it was hard for me to step up to do this, as my team knows, because I'm in a state of unknowing. I'm in the state of melting down. And it just means that it's, sharing has to be from a different place where that energy is happening. So I invite you to join me in that unknowing of the previous way and a deep listening and an emergence, supporting the emergence of the supernatural. And in the context of that, the transformation of the world from the first stage of redemption, which is more shaking, to the second stage of redemption, which is miraculous heaven on earth. And we're right in that spot. We're right in that spot. And it takes a completely different use of the mind, which we'll be talking about over the next couple of days. And it means stepping into empowered action when it's in line with what you desire. It says in the Torah, God says, God, your God will bless you in all that you do. We're here in this world to do what we can do from a place of disconnection or need or fear or shoulds or don't wants, or we can do as just part of building that bridge to this emerging future that is beyond our imagination and yet pulsating at the core of every one of our hearts. So if you want extra support for that, if you want to be in a much more intimate community, you want to have extra time each of these days to ask questions, to get, some personal support for your next edge or anything else. If you want the permanent recordings, if you want to be on the Zoom where I directly see your questions and so forth, because that's what I'm looking at. Join VIP. It's super cost effective, super affordable. The link's right here. Awakening Divine Power is the new program. By the way, this is our break. So I don't know how long I've been talking. Let's take another 4 minutes or so before we go into the VIP. So feel free to go to the bathroom, whatever you have to do if you're on VIP. Otherwise, you'll be complete in a moment. And we'll discontinue the streams. Awakening Divine Power is a brand new program. I have taught previous programs under that name. This is a brand new program using these time-proven formulas and principles, these divine formulas and principles and truths, but upgraded in alignment with everything that is continuing to emerge. And it is gifted to those of you who are an influencer. So if you're already an influencer, this is yours already. You can check out the website here. I'll talk about it more at length tomorrow on the next day. It is a structured transformational coaching program that takes place over 4 months. It will be very hands-on, very powerful, very clear and structured. It's open to the public. So if you want to join influencers, you get Awakening Divine Power. If you want to take, put your, well, I won't say toe in the water, but feet and lower legs in the water or whatever. If you want to, get a solid experience first, you can just join this program. It's a 4-month program once again. If you have a question about which is for you or what is for you or if something's for you, reach out to Shira, program concierge at shira.concierge@gmail.com. And that's all I want to say about that. Okay, we'll discontinue the thank you for being with us, Facebook, YouTube, people, and thank you for engaging and for sharing yourselves. Please share on the Facebook. We want to know you. We want to see you. We want to see what you're up to. We want to support you. We want you to be connected to our soul tribe. We want your help in creating, co-creating, and strengthening this morphic field. Invite your friends to join the challenge at gateofunity.com/next edge. And let's do this. Let's do this. Okay. Slides off, or you can leave the slide up. I'm turning off my video. I will be back in about 3 minutes for the VIPs.